name is Richard Roundtree. I'm running for sheriff of Richmond County. One of the reasons I think that I want to be sheriff of Richmond County is I was born and raised here in Augusta. I went to school here. I was educated here. I went on to college, got my degree in criminal justice. Went back to school, got my master's degree in psychology. I graduated from the FBI National Academy, and for the last 5 years, I actually been working with the youth. I'm trying to educate our youth and try to stop some of this youth violence that's been happening in Augusta. The reason I want to be sheriff, again, there's been a disconnect between law enforcement and the community for a very long time. It's getting to the point where the citizens are no longer trusting law enforcement, and that has to stop. For this community to change and grow together, there has to be a collaboration. We need to be able to trust the citizens, and above all, you need to be able to trust us. There's a disconnect there. If there's a problem, you're supposed to be able to call law enforcement, and we together as a community should be able to solve it. It's not an individual effort, and I want to bring that to it. I believe in partnerships. I believe in working with programs that's already working. I believe in education over incarceration, especially some of our youth. It has to be alternatives to incarceration because, again, these programs are not working. All you're going to have is, if you constantly just lock up people and don't provide them opportunities, you're going to have a city that's full of young, uneducated people that's not being productive in society, and that's not conducive to anyone. So we got to come up with some other alternatives. We need to start thinking what we can do long term to educate our children, and again to build the trust back within our community and bring those partnerships together. So again, I want to bring all of that to fold. Someone always said if you have an outstanding problem, you got to throw outstanding solutions at it. So I think if we have a problem that we see now, we got to throw everything we got at it. And I want to be the person to lead you in that fight, and I want us to do it together. Well, the thing about the Martha Burke case was, if you had a rule in place, then you follow that rule. The thing with the Martha Burke case was, once the petition was filed, the government came up with a rule after the fact. And you can't govern, or you can't even run a city that way. You have to have rules in place, and then everyone has to be treated equally. I believe in treating people fairly. Everybody wants to be fed by the same spoon. So the thing with the Martha Burke case is they react, and that's a lot of things with law enforcement now. We're reacting to problems instead of being proactive to problems. Instead of anticipating and coming up with solutions to problems that we foresee may come. Once one come up, then they react to it, and that's the problem with the Martha Burke case. Is they came up with solutions after she came up with a request, and then a lot of people could see it as stifling her First Amendment rights. So, like, again, even if it was a distraction, the point being is it should have been in place, and whatever your rules were in place, then you should have followed those to the letter. I think, I've learned a lot from Sheriff Strength. But again, the time that he came into law enforcement, it was a different era. Things have changed a lot since then. 35 years ago, law enforcement, the face of law enforcement was a lot different. I would like to think that we've come as a community and a society, that we come a very long way in 35 years. Now, I think with that, then law enforcement thinking should change also. And that's the problem with the administration now, that it has not progressed along with the years. So definitely in these cases, sheriff has an awesome responsibility, but his responsibility is to the people. And I think that's how it should be. And the main thing with doing that is you have to bring in different groups and other people to see what is going on. You got to be willing to listen to what is going on, because you can't see everything in law enforcement. So that's when you bring people in to say what is going on in our community and how we can move forward together. Right now, they're not doing community policing. They'll let you believe that they're doing community policing, but that's not it. Community policing is actually getting out and speaking and getting with the community and saying, what can we do together? Not what I can do for you or what can you do for me. Is we have a problem in your neighborhood. What can we do to address the problem in your neighborhood? Because everybody has problems that are unique to their area and their neighborhood and their concerns. So community policing is finding out what's needed in that particular community, that neighborhood, and then coming up with resources that we already have to address those problems. What's going on now is when they react into all calls, all cases, as call takers. They just one call, they come to the call, they take the call, and they move on. They don't stop to see, for instance, if a burglar comes into a place, they don't stop and say, okay, has there been other burglars in your neighborhood? Or your neighbors having the similar problems. What can we do? Let's get your neighbors together. Let me come back and get your neighbors together. Let's see how many we've had during the week. It's happening during the day. It's happening during the night. Do you have 2 cars in the garage, 1 car in the garage? Take it a little bit step further and say, why are these burglaries happening in my neighborhood, instead of just coming there, taking the report and leaving? And that's what's happening now. So the people are not being satisfied to the fact that, yeah, you took the report, but what's going to stop it from happening again, or what's going to stop it from happening to my neighbor? And that's the concept we got to get to, because, again, we can't eliminate all crime, but we can take steps to greatly reduce it. Absolutely, it's possible to gain the trust. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be running for this office. And that's the main goal. Goal is to regain that trust. That is one of my primary goals. That's why one of my first things in office is to start a citizen advisory board, to let me know what the concerns of the citizens are, what is happening. Let me know what are your concerns, what is going on, and then tell me what can we do to bridge this gap. Because if I don't know, if we don't have the collaboration, I don't know. And I'm willing to ask the question. I'm willing to sit down at the table and tell me what is going on. Let me know. Let's hear you out. The thing with Trayvon Martin, the problem is, it's similar to school shootings. Unfortunately, there are so many Trayvon Martin cases that happen all over the United States that we never hear about. And it happen all the time. Media uses their influence just for self-promotion or self-gain, instead of doing it what's best for the community. I think the media should report or give things to the community that benefits the community, and not just sell advertising or just to sell papers. So we do have a problem in that aspect. So again, like I say, there's so many Trayvon Martin cases that happen that are never publicized. So what we have to do is, in this case, we need to use this as an opportunity to learn from it and make something positive happen. Because if not, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or maybe 5 months from now, we're going to have another Trayvon Martin case if we don't do anything about it. So we have to take this tragedy, learn from it, and say, what can we do positive from this now? And that's what the media should be focused on. What can we do moving forward? With the Fago Davis case, the shooting in Deborah's involved, the one in the Underwood case, when they had little small riots. So yeah, there has been tension. And again, that comes from the fact that this tension, it doesn't happen overnight. The tension slowly builds over a period of time, and no one addresses it. And that's like anything in life. If you let something fester and fester, eventually even the smallest thing is going to unite that or ignite it. But our thing is, we need to stop that. If there's some tension starting to build, we need to immediately be able to recognize it and stop it before it gets to the point where it becomes volatile.
You mentioned the Citizen Advisory Committee. Are you going to select, or who's going to, how you're going to elect this?
I'm going to let the citizens elect it, to the fact of, one thing I want to do is some of the commissioners, let them have some input on their constituents, because I want the whole district to be involved. Let some of the commissioners nominate people who they see who are active in their community. Some of the neighborhood associations, they can send a representative. I want the people to get someone who's representative of them, that they trust, that they believe in, and they trust that they can voice their express their concerns to me. So again, if I just picked and point the people I want, that defeats the purpose. I want with the citizens, who do you want to represent you, to the fact of, let me know your concerns, someone you trust, and those are people we want on the board. So again, that's up to the people, and that's where it should be. I think they're afraid of change. I think this community, it's pretty much that Sheriff Webster was in chair for 16 years. Strength came under Webster for another 12 years. So that's pretty much 28 years of the same mentality, the same style of policing, same style of what's happening. And I think the leaders in this town are used to that, and they're afraid of that change. And I think that they've seen that the demographics have changed within the city. I think the mindset of the people growing up in the city, I think, the old way of thinking, as a younger generation coming up, and we don't want to be divided, we don't believe in the elitists, as some of them believe. And I think they're afraid of the change. So, getting into this office, I knew that hits were going to come. I knew that they were going to come after me, but like I said, in 19 years, we all make mistakes in our lives. The mistakes they're bringing up 16 years ago, things they bring up, I've learned from the mistakes, and I think I've become a better person because of those mistakes. If I never made any mistakes in my life, I would never have learned from them. So I realize that I've learned, I've grown, and I think that the citizens will see that too, because it's a part of life. It's a part of growing up. We all stumble in life. And me being sheriff, I am no better than the citizens that I serve. I don't put myself higher than anybody that I choose to govern. Why would I do that? I mean, that's crazy to even conceive that. So, the media wants to portray, all these negatives, but, think about the positives that we've tried to do as a community with the programs in the schools and my mentoring programs. I've been on this course for the last 5 years trying to help this community, and I think my record is going to speak for itself when it comes to that. Now, when you talk about endorsement, someone asked me that once before, that one of the other candidates may have this person endorsing them. So how do you feel about that? And, the bottom line is that person has one vote. I'd rather have a community of 300 endorsing me than one person who feels that they are in the elitist. I want that 300 instead of that one, because every person has a vote. When I thought about running 6, 7 years ago, and I knew that was going to be hard because no one wanted the change. So what I said was I was going to put myself in a position where as a candidate, I will be a viable candidate. I had already had my bachelor's degree. I went back to school at night to get my master's degree. I went on to the FBI Academy. I wanted to get the experience and the education, so when it came down to it on paper, they can't deny me the fact that I'm qualified. So if they come at you, they got to come at you with some other stuff that means nothing, to the people. So I knew that. So they cannot, deny that I'm a viable candidate. So they try to distract people with other things. And again, because they're afraid of the change. And like I say, this is not something I decided to wake up overnight and say, this is something I want to do. I grew up in this community, and people ask me all the time, say, well, with your education and your experience, why don't you either go into the corporate level with more money, or why don't you go to a bigger city? And I told them, I said, because this city has so much potential. We have so much potential. It's just this few that's holding on to this old regime, that's holding on to this old ways of thinking that's holding us back. And once we bust through that, and I think this election is going to do that, I think you're going to see this city blossom.
Right now, the Richmond County Sheriff Office is overwhelmingly conformed by white deputies, which I have no idea until last night. Mm-hmm. With your leadership, would you make the Richmond County Sheriff Office more diverse?
What they have to understand is, the people they talk about the mass exodus, those are the people who've been there 30, 35 years, and maybe it's time for them to retire, because that old way of thinking needs to change and go out too.
How you explain the sheriff? It doesn't reflect what they are saying.
It doesn't, and people try to make it that as racial, and it's not, because a community should be reflective. The force should be reflective of the community it serves, and it's not. The statistics show before this last promotion on the road patrol and in investigations, not one African American officer had been promoted by the rank of sergeant over 20 years.
How that can happen?
It happens because no one has said anything. It's been the same mentality. And like saying
one captain, one captain,
and that person brought his rank with him 16 years ago. He wasn't promoted to captain. When we consolidated in 1996, he already had that rank. He wasn't promoted. He brought it with him from the old city. And that's what people don't see, that they were not promoted to that rank. They brought it with him. That one captain, he was a captain 16 years ago. He is not, under the present administration, he has not been promoted in 16 years. And that's true throughout the whole department. So when you're saying diversity, it has to reflect the community. So, and again, I'm not just talking about African American, because so many people forget about the Hispanic community. We talked earlier about the Muslim community. The Asian community is growing, and those are not reflected on the sheriff office. And people have to stop looking at it as just a black and white community, and it's not. It's so many other ethnic groups that are thriving in the city that no one is paying attention to, and no one is addressing those concerns. So that's what that's why I say the old way of thinking. You never even hear about the Hispanic community. You never hear anything about the Asian community. You never hear anything about the Muslim community. And I did a presentation a couple of years ago for them. You don't hear that because people are discounting that. So and the force is not reflective of that. And but I see that, I get that, I know that, and that's what I want. When I say bring the community together, I mean the entire community. I ain't talking about just black and white. I mean because this community is reflective of so many other nationalities. They don't even have a full-time translator. Someone, when I've been in the department, they would have to call a deputy who at home that they knew was Hispanic and try to get him to translate, things, and it wasn't even his job. He just did it if he happened to reach him. how can you have a department? We're the largest sheriff department in the state of Georgia. We service 250,000 people, and like I say, your population, 5% of it, 3% of it is Asian community, and you don't have anyone that can communicate. Oh, you have one person that can communicate with that population on the department when you got almost 700 people. I mean, that in itself says something, and that's not reflective of your community, and it's saying that you're not putting the emphasis on that. Any progressive department has bilingual officers or have translators within their department. I went to a workshop today for a group who did served a breakfast, community breakfast, and every pamphlet they hand out with programs in it, he said one side is in English, other side is in Spanish. They said every program they pass out because of this community. And they said when they print, that's how it prints. They said they don't print it any other way because they know the law, what's the reflection of the community. The sheriff department needs to be the exact same way, if not more so. We the ones should be taking the lead because you're talking about taking someone's freedom. If a person doesn't understand, and they can go to jail because of the fact they don't understand what's going on.
It's happening every court.
And that's what's tragic about it, because it ain't like the person did wrong. They didn't understand what was happening to them. And once you get that record, what you understand is, you may not go to jail for a long period of time, you may get out, but the experience of being handcuffed, fingerprinted, photographed, arrest, booking, that changes a person. That doesn't take that experience from you. You spent a night in jail, fingerprint, photograph, and those fingerprints and photographs don't go anywhere. That's what you understand. They'll stay in the system regardless you're innocent or guilty. And like I said, that affects a person. That affects him, and then it affects how he treats his children about dealing with law enforcement, and that goes on, and that's what they have to see. And it's crazy, within 5 years, the state of Georgia is going to have building over 200 prisons that will be totally privatized.
But explain me how Phil Kemp, a non-elected official, is going to give you order, you elected official by Richmond County.
And that we can't even we can't even allow that to happen. And that's a fight. I mean, that's a fight that's worth fighting. Because you got to think about the long-term ramifications of it. It's when you think at it, I don't even see. And I wish, when you ask me, could I explain it? I wish I could explain the person's mentality but I can't wrap my arms around. I can't grip around. How can someone even think that way? And not only even think that way, to say it, and then to even get some support from other people. I can't wrap my my mind around that because it sounds so crazy, so ridiculous, especially in the time we live in. But if that's a fight worth fighting, then that's the fight that's worth fighting.
We are talking about elected officials, senators, and representatives that they are elected to serve us in the state of Georgia, and they come with this privatization of law enforcement, telling you, another elected official, it's just...
You can't, that's what I'm saying, you can't think, and you got to think that there's other things in play that we don't see. You hate to think of conspiracy theories, you hate to get around that, but unfortunately, they exist. There's some things that go on.
And you are a law enforcement, so you are obligated to follow that HB 87, whatever Phil can tell you, but...
If the law passes, you are.
So how you confront this in your mind?
Like I said, and again, I think what you confront is that, you get all the other elected officials, you get enough momentum, and then you fight the fight. Like I said, again, if there's a fight worth fighting, that's one that's worth fighting. You don't lay down for it. They said a long time ago, any law that's unjust is not a law. Things that they have pushed on people, especially minority people who don't feel like they have the elite status to fight these things, and for so long it's been pushed on it, and we've had to accept them. But those times need to change. That's why we need to have a different mentality, that we're just not going to let you just push anything you want us that affects us, because it's not affecting them, it's affecting us. I'm not trying to be a politician. I've been law enforcement for 19 years, and they expect me to be a politician in 3 months. And I said, that's not where my heart is. My heart is with the people. I see the struggles that people go through. I see sometimes when you're mistreated, I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. I believe in the power of second chances. I believe in redemption. You know, I believe that you're going to make mistakes. I believe that there's good in people if we bring it out. And I want to apply that to the office that I serve. And like I told people, you know, my values and my beliefs are not going to change just because I'm sheriff. This is who I am. This is what I believe. I'm not saying this to win an office. I've always been this way. And anybody will tell you, you know, I get as passionate about issues as the next person because I believe in them. So that's not going to change.
AnibalShow.com